March 20, 2025. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. In the pre-market, there was this gigantic sell-off, bounce, looked like it's two legs off, another sell-off, and it hit some kind of pre-market support. Then it pushed up, spike, and a channel rally. Then it had this very, very choppy sideways, I would say kind of a gradual sell-off, and I tried to find a channel that fit it pretty well. This is the best I could come up with, but I was mainly playing the small channels. A lot of whippy action here. I took a total of 2 trades, kind of shown right here. They were both profitable. The first one was okay, and then the second one I would say was kind of a reach, a little more iffy. And I'll explain when I get there, because I thought in real time they looked pretty decent. There are a few other trades that I marked, and some of them were, I guess, almost trades, or just trades that I thought might have worked out, but I couldn't fully justify taking the entry. So, let me go back and let's see. There was the only economic data today was at 5:30, just about right here. It's the unemployment claims, and then there was like existing home sales that came out around 7 o'clock Pacific Standard, which is about right here. And then I think Trump had some kind of remark or said something about crypto. And other than that, it wasn't the most action-packed day full of setups. Okay, so pre-market, there was a small spike, push up, bounces off the EMA, then there's this huge sell-off, break of this orange down channel, sideways consolidation, rally up, break of the green up channel, test the high, comes back down, doesn't really bounce off the EMA, pushes up, then has this gradual sell-off in the pre-market on this yellow down channel, kind of creates a triple test here, but not enough for me to feel confident taking a trade. And then prices start pushing up, hits this consolidation area. This is break of this green up channel. It kind of tests the highs, but it's more sideways trading range. Pushes up, comes back down, pushes up again, creates a new high. It's a first entry long, pullback, second entry long. I actually thought this is a possible trade because although this signal bar is pretty small, and I did have a trend line drawn, but I didn't really have it as a channel. I actually had it tighter, something tighter like this. It is bouncing off the bottom of this orange up channel. Signal bar is kind of neutral, but it is bullish. What I did like was the follow-up trigger bar moved one tick below the previous and then engulfed it and closed strongly. So I saw it as one leg pullback, second leg with enough room potentially hit the high. So I thought that was a possible trade here. It starts moving up, no clean second entries, pushes up on this green up channel, breaks. So I was still playing off this orange channel at this time. Hits the sideways consolidation. It's a new high. It's a first entry long, but then it continues, makes a new high here. It looks like it's in a trading range. It's a first entry long pullback. Technically, you have a second entry long here, but I saw it as one leg pullback, kind of like a second leg. So you could argue maybe it's a third leg. But I saw it more as like a visual first leg. Counted all of this as the second leg down, even though it technically isn't by the count. So it's visual first entry, second entry, visual second entry long, and I thought this is a potential fail breakout. It's a bounce off this orange up channel. This orange up channel, I had it here and also had a second line up here because, actually a little bit tighter, something like this, because I thought it was maybe the midline. Eventually ended up here, but that's not important. The important thing is it's bouncing off this confirmed support. Fail breakout, bounce off the support, so I thought this was a possible trade. Enough room to the high for a quick scalp. Then pushes up and actually sets up for my first trade. So it's a new low. It's a first entry short. You don't get a second entry short, but you also have a new high. So first entry long pullback. You don't have a second entry long yet, but I was watching this carefully. Had an overshoot here, another overshoot on this side. So I'm thinking this side has played out with a corresponding symmetrical overshoot on this side. So as I was watching, it bounces off the top of this trading range resistance, which is now acting as support. It tries the second time, pushes down, and it creates a double bottom with decent close. So I thought, okay, this is a potential breakout pullback. It is with trend. I wasn't really sure that it was going to come back down to touch here, so I wanted to see what the next candle would do. If it went down to touch the EMA, I wasn't going to enter the trade. Or if it touched the EMA and bounced off, or if it broke through, I wasn't going to take the trade. So I was watching. It actually opens high here, pushes down, pushes up pretty strongly. So after it broke above this, my signal bar, so say first entry, pullback, second entry, technically it's a little more riskier. I decided that I wanted to try to enter this trade. I dropped in my order one tick above this guy. It flushes up, gives me my scalp, and then takes off the entire position. Well, actually, I didn't go for a runner, so it took off the entire position here. If you had a runner, I would able, well, I think it might have come back and stopped my runner out, but I don't quite remember, but it was toward the end of this candle close. So it's debatable whether I would have been able to trace a runner behind here, behind here, behind here, and likely this candle would have taken me out. But it's okay, I'm okay with this trade. Prices continue moving up, hits here, breaks below the EMA, and it closes kind of neutral. Here I saw, okay, clearly this orange up channel has been confirmed. One touch, two touch, three touch. So I'm not so sure about the high side. Maybe it's something closer to here, but I had it here. But for sure, this low side support is pretty confirmed. So I saw as a first entry long pullback, you technically have a second entry long. I decided to enter this trade. This trade was definitely a little more risky. And in hindsight, it felt like a reach because I entered early. So it opened here, flushed down, touches this orange up channel support, bounces, closes. I was able to enter. I entered right above this original signal bar for the second entry long because it's higher lows confirming it. I like that it moved one tick below, hits it, flushes up, gives me my quick scalp, but then it flushes and closes below. So if I'd stayed longer, this candle likely would have stopped me out because my stop was below this guy and it would have stopped me out here. If there was any doubt, this one would have stopped me out. So this one was definitely more risky and it was a reach because it was the first entry, second entry off this kind of sketchy doji. And then this one I entered before this candle closed. If I waited for this to close, I wouldn't have entered. So this one definitely was riskier and it was an early entry. So I was lucky that I was able to get out, plus just barely. Because as you can see, if I was trying to go for 2 points, I wouldn't have gotten it, and then this would have stopped me out. So I'm sitting here waiting, pushes back up, re-enters this orange up channel. So I saw this as a break, test the high, made one attempt up, second attempt up. So now I'm watching, kind of hits this. I'm wondering if it's going to bounce again. Keeps going and flushes down. So now I'm really curious to see if the EMA is going to hold. Pushes, struggles, and actually forces, kind of comes back down. So the EMA was support previously, is now is resistance. Moves down on this green down channel, break, first attempt, first entry short, pull back, second entry short. Second entry short, I wasn't sure what to make of this because I didn't quite have a trading range, but I knew there was some kind of support because it looked like you respected it once, twice, roughly 3 times. So new low, first entry short, second entry short, second entry short. This second entry short looks like it's about to fail. I have no way to confirm this. It's not the cleanest setup because it did break above the EMA. So I'm thinking more likely it's pushing up than coming back down. So I wanted to wait for a higher low confirmation. So if you did enter, you would have gotten a scalp. You would have entered, and this probably would have gotten your scalp. But after seeing this, I was still looking for a higher low. Starts pushing down, and then that just kind of negates the whole setup and trade, unless you entered it here. So it looks like it's pushing back down. It looks like you have a potential triple test. It's the first entry long, pull back. You do have a second entry long here. Second entry long, triple test. Not the best signal bar, but I thought there was a break of the screen down channel. Test the low. The support's coming into play. This is a red bar, but it's a bullish red bar. So if you're more aggressive, I can see it's a first entry, pullback, potential second entry, confirmed here. If I wanted to enter, also off the triple test, I would have put it at the highs of this candle. And it's debatable whether I would have gotten filled. And after it pushes up like that, if I didn't get the fill, I would not wait for this next candle. This next candle, if I stuck around, I would have gotten filled. Debatable whether I gotten an exit, but here there is at least one tick, so I would have gotten out here. But seeing this, I would not have been happy with this. And flushes down. Pushes down on this red down channel, so like one leg, two legs up. Second leg down, kind of gets choppy. It's a little confusing. I'm not really sure. I just think it is bearish, but hard to really trust which channel is in play and which one needs to test the extreme. Pushes up. So first entry short, second entry short, creates a higher low. I thought this is actually a possible trade, higher low. Confirms this new low, first entry short, second entry short, higher low confirming. Technically a bounce off the EMA. I could also see that it was potentially in this orange up channel break, but this break, I'm not sure if it's considered testing the high or not, but I thought, okay, maybe there's a trade here. However, I was lucky with the two trades previously. I wasn't going to try to press my luck on yet, so left it alone. It would have worked. Punches back down. I don't have this transparent channel drawn yet. It's a new high, first entry long pullback. You technically have a second entry long here, but it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It did have a break of the green down channel, tested the low, but I would rather wait for a higher low confirmation. You get a higher low, but once this pushes down, if you didn't take it on the engulfing, I'd be very hesitant to take it on this way up here, because this is a 30, 35 tick bar, which is huge. It also a new low here. First entry short, second entry short. I was playing in one of the lands I was playing with. This line was a trend line, but I didn't trust it that much. But in hindsight, and in real time, I was wondering, is there a second entry short here? I just didn't like it though, because yes, it's a break of the green up channel, test of the high, so you think it might come back down, but you'd also need the strength of this acting as a resistance to justify another key entry point. And I wasn't quite ready for that. So I was looking for a first entry short, second entry short, ideally a higher low below the EMA, or at least with the body or the close below the EMA. And you don't really get that. It just kind of flushes down. So the higher low never shows up. And if you weren't on this trade, then I would not be, it's kind of negates the whole setup completely. So I'm just waiting again. You technically get a higher low here, but it's just so far. It doesn't even seem related to the setup anymore. It's just not a good setup to try to take a higher low here. Excuse me, lower high here. Pushes down to new low, first entry short, second entry short. This is your signal bar to go short on. It is bearish. I just wanted to touch the EMA, so left it alone. Looking for a lower high confirmation. First entry, second entry short, lower high, but unfortunately it already makes a new low, so I'm just abandoning it because this could end up being the lower high, and it does, but it already hit the extreme. It already pressed toward the local low, so I'm just not that excited about it because there's really no room left. Presses down, bounces. So I kind of created this channel. Initially, it was something like this, but didn't really touch very well. I had it also higher, thinking maybe this, but it doesn't really confirm anything very well. So I just kind of kept it at the extreme, but I'm not trusting this support as a key entry point just yet. I would trust this one a little bit more because you have one touch, two touch, three touch. Here you only really have one touch. So it's not reliable in my view. The new low is the first entry short. Technically you have a second entry short here. Didn't quite touch the EMA. I didn't really like the trigger bar follow through. Plus, I'm confused as whether this is actually support or not. So I'm not sure if it's going to go low or potentially try another leg up. In this case, it pushes back down, bounces, comes back down here, and here I draw this support. And I actually had the trading range. So this is a later trading range, but I had the highs here, thinking I might be in a trading range. So new high, first entry long. It breaks out below, potentially a fail breakout. You do have a second entry long, first entry long, second entry long. I'm not too excited about this setup. This is not the best follow through. It would have worked, pushes up. With a first entry short against first entry long, pushes back up, starts breaking through. You have a failed breakout here per my current trading range. It's a new low. It's a first entry short. Second entry short, signal bar is an inside bar. I'm not too excited. I'm looking for a lower high, ideally pushing clearly into the range and not having to worry about the EMA. Although the EMA is flattening, it becomes less and less important in this particular trading range. I just want a little more confirmation. Pushes down. So I do have a new low, first entry short, second entry short. You have the lower high that I was looking for. Makes a double top. So you have a potential lower high. I'm not acting yet. I see this one. It doesn't break above and it flushes down. So I thought, had I been faster, maybe there was an engulfing that I could have taken here, but I was a little more hesitant to take it after the close now because this bar is 23 ticks. So 23 ticks, I'm not that excited now because this is a decent setup, but not good enough in my view. So I just kind of left it alone. Presses down, punches through the bottom, breaks. It looks like it's reversing. So it's a first entry short. You have a second entry short. Second entry short, I do have this as a trend line. I don't remember if I had it quite drawn as a channel yet, but I knew this potential triple test here. One touch, two touch, three touch, up on this support. But unfortunately, if unless you just trusted this and jumped on it, you would have missed a trade. I also didn't like that it had trouble breaking through this EMA. So that here it broke through, came back down. Here broke, just barely. The next candle it broke through. So there is some bullish bias going for it. So I just wasn't really sure. So as a first entry short, second entry short, I'm looking for a higher low now. Maybe a higher low here. Nope, it pushes down. So here I'm abandoning looking for a higher low because it's just pressing through. Potentially a double bottom in this region, say first entry long. Technically, you get a second entry long here, but I didn't like this fence. Just these candles are just almost the same size, but in reverse order. So it's just very choppy. There's a tug of war going on here, and I don't want to get involved with this. There's a new low, first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short. Second entry short, potentially lower high, but this isn't a very good signal bar. It's too neutral. It would have worked though, because, well, I see this and I would wait for the second follow through, and it shows up like pretty much the same as this one. So this isn't giving me a lot of confidence. Is it going to bounce off the EMA or is it going to follow through and press downwards? You finally get a confirmation here, but it's too late to try to take a trade. Presses down, moves down on this green down channel. I do draw this. So this is my original channel, or trading trend, downward trend line. And I placed it here because it looked like I had good confirmation. Potentially a small little failed breakout, push up, is continuing down. So I was debating whether I should extend my channel kind of down to here to capture this with no breakout. So I did have this at one time. Bounces is first entry short, technically a second entry short. I'm looking for a lower high now, and you don't really get a lower high. Presses back up. It's almost the top side of this range or this downward channel. The first entry long, it just gets choppy. Technically, you have a second entry long here. This was your signal bar to go long because after this trigger bar confirms, first entry, second entry, I'm not that excited about this. EMA is kind of like a roller coaster. Prices are moving above and below, so it's a little confusing. Here, I saw it, but I wasn't sure what to make of it. So this is kind of what I saw as like a new high. First entry long, pullback, second entry long. Second entry long technically has failed on this bar, but you have a new low, first entry short, pullback, second entry short. So second entry short, failed second entry long. EMA is a little confusing. It's hard to trust, not quite reliable. I'm not sure if prices want to come back up and touch this. Pushes through, so you do have a confirmed second entry short, failed second entry long. But then you have a failed second entry short now. So initially it's first entry long, second entry long failure. Now you have a first entry short, second entry short failure. So you have a failure on both second entry longs and shorts, but you can also consider it a higher low. So this is just telling me I'm a little confused on what the bias is, where prices are going. It's just chopping left and right. So I marked it as this, didn't even put in the notes, but I just saw this in real time and it was confusing me quite a bit. So best decision was just to sit on my hands. In this case, going long would have worked because if you went short here, it would have worked for 1 point scalp. Went long here would have worked for 1 point scalp, but I didn't see enough justification to go one way or the other. Bounces, presses up, hits a new high, presses down, first entry long, pull back. Technically, you have a second entry long, so it's new high, first entry long, pull back, second entry long. Second entry long was made here. This actually creates a higher low. I like this because it was one tick below, flushes up, and closes at the high. I also noticed that it was new low, first entry short. Technically, this made your second entry short, and on the same candle created a failure on the second entry short. So I actually thought this was a possible trade, and I wasn't really thinking this orange down channel is going to test the lows anymore, simply by the fact that this initial pullback was so strong, it already recovered about half of this leg. Then when it came down to try to test the low on this one, this red bar came back and it was reversed quickly by buyers right here. Then it came back down a second time. So it's like this is your two attempts, which aren't very strong, and it closes definitively strong. So I thought there was a long trade here. The thing that was holding me back was this is kind of late in the day. I was pretty happy with my two trades. Granted, this one was a little more dicey, but I really didn't want to risk it. But I thought if this had showed up earlier, this is probably a trade worth taking. I would have entered one tick above this candle. And as you can see, I would never have gotten the fill. I needed to be pretty much at the highs of this or one tick above, but I didn't want to risk that much. I wanted to kind of be a little bit safer. So even if I tried to enter, I wouldn't have gotten filled. Then prices continue moving up. You have a second entry long here. It's a bad signal bar, pushes and goes into the close because this is the last roughly 10 minutes where it just gets pretty choppy. So it was a rather so FOMC came out yesterday. Today was a little more sedated, not as choppy as yesterday, but even then, it wasn't. There were some trades in there, but it wasn't the most obvious. So hopefully that was helpful.